Hey guys, welcome back to Factorio. So, as I was saying in the last episode, I wanted to figure out a way of switching this between producing sand and producing stone as we needed stone. So here's what I've done. Went down here and I took a red wire and I connected it to the belt here so that it reads the belt. And I've connected it to the belt here and here. And the way I've set these up is this one is set to read the contents of the belt and to hold that number. As long as that number is on the belt, it's going to hold that number. It's not going to pulse. It's going to hold. Okay. Then I've gone to these two sections and I've done enable disable. So I've said if stone is less than 8, it's going to enable this belt. On this one, if the stone equals 8, it enables the belt. So this one is turned off because this equals 8. It's not less than 8. And this one is turned on for the same reason, because this is equal to 8, right? So what that effectively is doing is when I don't need stone down to the warehouse, it's not feeding the stone production, so it's not going to the warehouse. And it's turning on sand production and putting it in these warehouses here. Now, we'll get to that in a minute as to why I have these large warehouses. But basically, it has to do with how much crushed stone we're bringing in from our ore processing and what have you. So, let me show you this in action. So, basically, let's say the warehouse uses up the stone that it currently has, and it needs more stone. So, if we pick up a bunch of stone, we'll see that this goes away and it's no longer got 8. So you'll see this will switch states. The stone production will turn on and it will continue to produce until it fills this up to the point where we then, we then have the stone backed up to this and it'll switch back over to sand automatically. So give it a second here and you'll see what I mean. So we're almost to the point where this part of the belt is full, and as soon as this part of the belt is full, see it changes over, it goes back to producing sand. So that was the goal, is to be able to control that without having to come back over here all the time and switch back and forth between the two processes. Now I could use that same kind of a thought process down here on my steel, right? And I could change these formulas over to produce the other way. Now, the reason we have a backup right now, it looks like our copper is backed up. So it looks like our warehouse is full of copper. So we have completely filled our warehouse of copper. So we're going to have to probably figure out something to do and dump this copper so that we're not stopping the process. Now, I just noticed that that was not something I expected. So, let us do this. Let us go down here. Yeah, see, our copper warehouse is completely filled. All right, we're going to have to do something about that real quick. Not something I expected to deal with right now, but that's okay. Those emergencies happen. We need some stone. We need some stone of all things, so that we can make some mini loaders. So we'll make 1, 2, 4. Yeah, we'll make all 4. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna fix this by putting in another warehouse. We'll put another warehouse in here. Luckily, I happen to have a couple on hand. Because of some other things that I've got going. So we'll go out, out, and then in, and we'll put another warehouse in here. Give it just a second to make the other undergrounds, or make the other, mini loaders. And then we got a couple other things that we're going to look at this episode. We're not really building a whole lot. We're going to do some building, but it's really kind of just changing the way some things are produced, simply because of some of these backup issues that we have too much of something and not enough of something else, kind of thing. So that's going to go there. That's going to go there, and then we will put in a second warehouse right there. And that'll start emptying that oops, wrong one. That was dumb. Because I was thinking of the stone, I did it at the stone one. It's not the stone one that we want. These are not the droids we're looking for. It is the copper droids that we are looking for, right here. Those are the droids we're trying to fix. All right. So let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Warehouse to fill. And then an output from the warehouse to the line. That's going to double our storage. That should take care of our copper issue for a little while. Meanwhile, we'll figure out how to dump our copper and make it less of a thing that we're producing. It is what it is. Right now, we don't need so much copper. And it has jammed up our production, obviously, to the point where our iron's not going through. Now, speaking of the iron, we have started getting into some of the heavier structures which require this InVar plate, this InVar plate here, that we are making down here. So this used to be just a regular belt. I put a chest in there so that we can start picking some of it up. And then what I've done is, you can see a green wire coming from the chest, and we ran that green wire all the way up to our iron production. Because for InVar production, InVar requires steel ingots, which require iron ingots. And then that goes into the InVar with the nickel, or goes in with the nickel, and that's what makes InVar. The problem we had was we weren't getting enough iron ingots down here, because iron ingots are also used to make iron plates. Well, now we have the production that's making iron plates up there. We can go ahead and start stealing from this. So what I've done is, you follow that green wire up. I have wired in all of the inserters that come from our ingot production for our iron ingots, and goes into our induction furnace to create our molten iron, then in turn creates our plates. And I've wired up all of these inserters, and they're reading that chest. And if the chest is less than 9.5K, the chest will hold 96 or 9.6. If it's greater than 9.5, it will turn these inserters on and it'll start making plates again. But until then, it's going to work down here, and it's going to continue to fill up this chest down here with InVar. So our InVar will build up, and eventually we'll have enough InVar that as we need it for buildings and stuff, we can steal it from down here. And it's not really going to hurt us as far as iron production, because we have that separate iron production up there. Now, we will have to deal with this copper at some point, because we are producing so much copper now. Basically, for every one iron plate we're making, or for every 2 iron plate we're making 1 copper. We're going to have to figure out a better way for that. So that's going to be something I'll have to scratch my head off camera and figure out a different recipe or what have you for that. In the meantime, speaking of making better ways of doing things, let's go up here to our mud sucking operation and talk about what's going on up here. As you can see, our secondary stuff, our sand, our lime, our clay, and our geodes have stopped producing. Now the geodes, that's not such a problem because we're really not using them yet. But the clay we need for bricks, the lime we need for bricks, the sand we need for bricks, and we are using bricks. So we need to have this production run. Now, the nice thing about this is because this is a secondary production, if any of these gets full and stops producing, it's not going to gum up the works. But what has gummed up the works is in order to make these, we have to process that viscous mud. And every time you step it down, it creates mud. We were making this mud into sand, and that was great because we were expanding our territory and stuff. We had a way to use it. Well, now we're not expanding right now, and because of our crushed stone, we have plenty of sand production. So the problem now is, what do we do with this mud? And what I have figured out that I am going to do is I pulled out the C4 pumps that are sucking up the viscous mud and providing it to the system. We're going to put those back in, but we're going to put a valve in. We're going to put a overflow valve to keep it from running if there's already viscous mud in the system. But that's not going to solve our problem of this mud being blocked up. But if we go up here to FNEI and we look at mud and what we can use mud for, one of the things that we can make with our mud is by adding water, we can turn it back into viscous mud, send it back to the beginning of the process, and reprocess it through. And we can just keep that cycling through. So we're going to create a feedback with our mud to turn it back into viscous mud, feed it back into our system, and that's how we're going to get rid of our mud. Because right now, our rail loaders are full, our system is full, and everything has stopped. So we've got more mud than we know what to do with. But these ones have not filled yet. We want to continue until we've got all of this filled, so that when we need it, we can draw from it, etc. So we got to get this moving again. So we are going to, what we're going to do is we're going to start making viscous mud, and we're going to put viscous mud back into our feed system. And that's going to take care of two problems. One, what do we do with all this mud? Two, it's going to keep us from having an overabundance of sand when we don't need it. And three, it's going to let us process it again and again and again and get more materials out of it. So, what do you need to make this? We can do this in a chem station, an advanced chem station, or in liquefiers. And we're just going to do it in liquefiers. They're cheap. We only need one liquid input and one physical input. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to steal it from these and put it right back into the system. And we brought with us some blasting charges. We brought with us some pumps. And we brought with us some liquefiers. So we're going to do 4 liquefiers total. We're going to do 2 on this side and 2 over here on this side, just to kind of balance things out. So let us put down 2 liquefiers, and let us do it this way. Let's put that there and that there. You know what? Let's rotate these. And let's give them a separation of 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, because that will allow us to bring in our mud, insert our mud into our system, and then this will let us take it out. Okay, so then we're going to turn this into viscous mud water, And we're going to bring this line up. And then we're going to pump this down into this. And that will start to give us that. And then we got to put in pumps. We got to put in pumps. We got to put in power lines. So there's our power lines. That'll start putting that into there. Now we just got to install a pump. And I figured out that in order to put in a pump, you need 6 holes. You need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And that's going to allow me to put in a pump. And then we just pump that in. That's going to start turning that into what we need it to be and sending it on out. Now, I think, from the looks of it, we'll put on 2 inserters per to keep this up. Right? So now we got this running again. But just to keep things balanced, I'm going to do the same thing over here. So we're going to come out from there, right? And then we're going to do the same thing here that we just did. And I think we're going to do it on this side. 1, 2, 3, right? So that's going to bring that up. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, bring it from there up to there. 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 And there. And then we just got to put in a pump. Right? And we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put in our pump. And then put in power for that. And that should start processing our mud out of the system and allow us to continue to flow. Now that's going to give us plenty of viscous mud for a long time. And we don't want to add viscous mud to the system via our pumps until we need it. But eventually we're going to need it. So let us go down here. And this is where our viscous mud kind of comes in. And we're going to put a pump. Let's put, we want to give ourselves enough room that we can put in a valve and such. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, and you want to watch out. These will damage you. Now, I think these need a wider space, if memory serves me right. So we're going to go, I think it may be 8 for these. No, maybe it's not. Maybe it is that. Is that enough? Yeah, there it is. So it is. So it's 10 for these, whereas the other ones are 8. Okay. So we'll put that in. Now, we centered it wrong because we were thinking up here, but it's okay. So then we're going to put in an over or a top-up valve. That means if this falls below 80%, then this will output to it and give us our makeup water, if you will. So this won't function unless it absolutely needs to. So that way we should continue to use up our mud from our process as opposed to using this up. And that looks like it is actually doing what it is supposed to do. Do we have movement of our mud? We may want to move those. We may want to put those up closer to where we are inputting so that they kind of balance. Maybe that's what we want to do, is we may want to put it here. We don't have enough explosive blasting charges, but what we may want to do is put it here instead. I think that's probably where we're going to put it. We're going to move that one. We'll put one here and one over at the other side. We can do that off camera, though. I'll just go ahead and move them. So that is going to take care of that production that had stalled there. Why are we not getting our other stuff going? Thin mud water is not running. Why is thin mud water not running? Oh, okay, because it's not clearing out. We've not cleared out our mud yet. We're working on this side. We're not working on this side. So I'm gonna say that what's happening is probably this is interfering with the works. Yeah, see, because now it is moving along a little bit, I think. It looks like, yeah, now I'm starting to see. Okay, so we are going to put those up here and limit them up here so that it is closer to where this other source is. Because as soon as I took that pump out, you see it started doing what it needed to do. So there we go. That's doing what we want. Okay, so I'll move those pumps around. We'll see where I end up putting them. I may even only end up having to put one pump in just to keep up. I don't know. We'll see. So let's go down here and look at the other thing that we've got going down here. I have started looking at the whole seed thing and the whole garden thing, and how do we start making the garden research, because we need the garden we need the biological little pill looking thing in order to go further on our dirty green research. And here is what I have come up with. So in order to make a garden, right, and this will give us 2 gardens for the price of 1 garden, so we'll start building up our gardens. This is the process we need. We need alienated fertilizer, we need garden, we need mineralized water, and we need a starter alien plant life. Now the gardens will give us 2. Alright, if we convert the garden into strictly alien plant life samples, it's going to give us 32 for every garden. We need 30 to grow one. So we're going to get 2 out of every one of these. But that's okay. We don't need a lot of them for the science. It's just, but that's going to give us 2 each time. So we're going to have to make a bunch of these. But anyway, we're going to need alienated fertilizer. So alienated fertilizer can be made in an assembler, and it requires fertilizer and alien goo. Fertilizer requires urea gas and compost. Well, we know how to make compost. We've been making compost when we made our trees. So we need alien goo for this, urea gas for this. So alien goo requires alien bacteria. Alien bacteria is made in an algae farm, and it requires hydrochloric acid, alien spores, and calcium carbonate. Well, calcium carbonate is made with red cellulose fiber, so we have to trace that up. Then we have to get the alien spores, and we have to get the hydrochloric acid. Alien spores are made in a hydro plant, and they come from polluted fish water. So polluted fish water comes from our fish tank with fish in it, and we put fish water in, and we get polluted fish water and fish out. Here are the different recipes for getting polluted fish water. We can put the gurgle floops or dwarf flips in there. We can put the Levac fish in there. We can put the Santa rays in there in different combinations with different things. We can, with the Santa ray, we have to put in raw meat for one combination. Each of these has different efficiencies. If we just put in this, we have to put in 4, and we get 2 and maybe 3 back out. So we'd have to go back and capture fish all the time. If we put them in with meat, we get 4 to 5 every time, so we're gaining each time, but we're going to have to store it. So we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do for that. But that requires artificial fish water and nutrient pulp. Artificial fish water is made with saline water and regular water. And we know how to make saline water. We know how to make regular water. We're already making it over on the other end. We just put those two together, and that goes in there. Nutrient pulp is made from different seeds and beans and corns and things like that. So up here, where we were making all of this crop, we're going to now start using this crop to create our nutrient pulp. So that's going to give us that input into here, which is going to give us the first of the last of our liquids, this alien goo. As far as urea gas, we have to make that out of ammonia gas and carbon dioxide. Well, carbon dioxide, we know how to make it. We're making it to make our green algae. But ammonia gas, we have to put blue cellulose fiber in and make ammonia gas. So we got to make blue cellulose fiber. Now this is where it gets kind of flaky, because this needs red cellulose, this needs blue cellulose. We're not making those yet. It needs ammonia gas, so we're going to have to cycle back ammonia gas. It needs thermal water, which is those thermal water pumps that we made. So we'll bring those in. We can make both of those easy enough. That's going to give us our red algae. Our blue algae, on the other hand, is carbon dioxide and sulfuric wastewater. Now, we're making sulfuric wastewater and turning it into sulfur to continue our metal process, but we can tap off some of that, bring it over here, and get this started. And then I believe somewhere in this process, one of the components that comes out of all of this mess is going to be sulfuric wastewater. So we're going to, cycle that back in. It's going to be one of those deals where we get it kick-started, and hopefully it should, continue to feed itself. But we're going to need a lot of red algae and a lot of blue algae, and we're going to need the blue algae for oil and stuff anyway. So our next goal is we are going to start creating our red algae, our blue algae, our green algae, and our brown algae in farms. And we're gonna build farms down here, and we're gonna build all 4 colors of algae, and we're gonna build a farm for them, and then we will start training them and shipping them. In the meantime, the other thing that I'm going to do is, because we are making those other liquids up here, the waste sulfuric acid, the sulfuric, wastewater, etc., I don't want to pipe them all the way down here. So we are going to start a tank farm. And that tank farm is going to contain all of our different gases, all of our different waters and liquids and what have you. We're going to have a central location for that the trains can come in and get what they need and go back out and drop off what they need. So we're gonna have to set up a tank farm, and I think down here is going to be our tank farm, and I think over here is going to be our production for our algae, and we're going to go from there. So the next episode will be setting up our tank farm, and then and then the next one after that is going to be setting up our algae, and then from there we should finally start to be able to do this stuff. That's my hope. We will see. But that's where we stand. I wanted to show you the changes that I made to kind of make this whole system work a little better, and a little more efficient. And it looks like it is kind of moving through now. This is an issue with the copper that we gotta start either using that copper, or we have to figure out a way to make less of it. So let's grab some more research. We should have done that before we started anything else. So we're going to grab the next ones in line, and that's going to be that. Um, we're getting close to where we have to start making blue science, because we're running out of this red and green science. Blue science looks like it's going to be kind of interesting, to make this stuff. Blue science is going to require some products that we're not making right now: nitrogen gas, fuel oil, naphtha, uh, silver glass, silver plate, glass that we know how to make, but we're not making it. Aluminum, nitrogen, more nitrogen gas, red circuits, a bunch of different things that we are not really making right now. So that's why I want to make that tank farm. It's going to make things a little easier on us, I hope, with regards to gases. So there it is, guys. That's what's going on. That's where we're headed. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.